bees are dying, and our survival depends on them. That's why 4RB's created the Pure Wave Cell, a breakthrough quantum device proven to help hives thrive, doubling colonies and boosting honey production naturally. Every jar of our Pure Wave honey fuels this mission, supporting beekeepers worldwide. Visit 4RBs.com. That's the number 4RBs.com, and use code WITF for 20% off. Save the bees! Save us all!
Where in the Folk is not and should not be viewed as a news source. Any names, places, or likenesses mentioned are purely fictional, and any information discussed is purely speculative. Guest opinions are their own and do not reflect those of anyone else. Where in the Folk is not responsible for content accuracy of any stories that are told or what people do with these stories. This show is vulgar, sometimes graphic, and due to its content, it should not be viewed by anyone, actually.
Welcome to another episode of Where in the Folk, and thank you for joining myself and Morgana.
Hey,
Tully and Steven are out on a journey.
Right. That's exactly right. We're not sure where they're journeying, but
yeah, well, they'll be back soon enough. And hello, Crystal. Hello, Ronnie. Let's see, has anybody else popped in yet? Not yet. So I hope everybody's had a miraculous week, and thank you for visiting us on Fringe Theory Friday. Little secret for Fringe Fridays, we just didn't know what we want to talk about.
that is a true statement. But that's okay. Those are some of our best episodes.
I think so too.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So we'll go ahead and get started. I'm falling apart everywhere. Like my earbuds are falling out. These are new earbuds. They're falling out. My glasses are falling down. I don't know how to maintain myself here. There we go. But anyway, we'll get started right off the bat here with the Tully saucer nest. I don't think we've talked about this before.
It's not familiar, but I love that it's called the Tully.
Yeah, I might have talked about it on an episode, like when it was me and Steven doing like the UFO stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So if I did, I'm sorry. We're talking about it again.
Awesome.
This is for the ones that might have missed it or might have forgot about it. So this happens on the morning of January 19th, 1966. A sugarcane farmer in Queensland, Australia, stumbled upon something impossible. Floating slightly above a swamp, he claimed to see a metallic craft rise from the water before disappearing into the sky. Moments later, where the object had hovered, lay a perfectly flattened circle nest in the reeds. One that no one has ever satisfactorily explained. Was it nature or had something landed there? Who knows? The witness was a 28-year-old farmer named George Pedley. While driving his tractor near the small town of Tully, he noticed an unusual hissing sound coming from the Horseshoe Lagoon. That's a cool name for a lagoon.
Mm-hmm. Was it horseshoe shaped?
It had to be, right?
Maybe.
It's probably a broken one, crooked horseshoe. Curious, he stopped his tractor and looked toward the water. And according to Pedley, a dull gray object around 25 to 30 feet wide suddenly rose from the reeds. It wasn't shaped like a classic flying saucer seen in movies. Instead, he described it as a smooth, spinning object moving incredibly fast. Within seconds, it climbed into the air, accelerated, and vanished. Dun, dun, dun. Thinking he might have imagined it, Pedley walked over to where the object had been. What he found made him question everything. Nearly perfect circle, flattened reeds stretching over 30 feet across. The plants were not broken. They were woven together in a clockwise spiral, as though something had gently pressed them down while rotating. The water inside the circle remained clear while the surrounding swamps was thick with vegetation. News spread rapidly. Police even came out to see what was going on. Journalists took pictures of it. Scientists examined the reeds. Within days, people began referring to it as a saucer nest. And soon more circular nests began to appear around Queensland. One moment. Some witnesses claimed to see similar flying objects before before discovering additional circles. Investigators struggled to explain why the reeds appeared twisted instead of crushed. The leading scientific explanation, if you believe science, pointed toward a rare weather phenomenon called swamp whirlwind. It's a swamp whirlwind, a little swamp tornado, a small rotating column of air that could theoretically flatten vegetation into circular patterns. But people still argue. I would argue with that. It doesn't really, because the whirlwinds don't typically create such a clean, symmetrical spirals all over standing water. Let's see. So, what do you believe when it comes to this? Do you believe that this person's seen a UFO? Do you believe I don't know. What could it have been? Could it have been ancient tech?
So my thing is always, okay, and I realize some people do not care, but why put yourself out there for the ridicule and humiliation that's going to come over something you're just making up?
Yeah.
And I know people that would. I know people that would, but your average person, especially, this guy doesn't have a reputation of being over the top or, mentally off or anything like that. So why would he even tell that to people?
True. I don't know. I know some people that thrive just to have people talking about them.
Mm-hmm.
But back in the day when this was happening, people were scared to do anything like this. That one fella from what was his name? The Watson. I forget his name now.
Mm-hmm.
Fire in the Sky was based off of him.
Well, Fire in the Sky. I know who you're talking about. I don't remember his name.
He got abducted. He's lumberjack. Oh my goodness, I can't remember his name.
Travis Walton? No.
Travis Walton, yeah. It really didn't help him.
Yeah, Travis Walton.
Yeah. It didn't really help him much through his life to be abducted by aliens and to talk about it or anything like that.
Mm-hmm. But here's the other thing. Okay, your swamp whirlwinds. Okay, I've seen some pretty intricate, multi-layered crop circle designs that, like I say, they're bent, not broken. So the whirlwind just kind of hops around and makes, this perfect geometrical pattern.
Yeah. I mean, it's completely possible too, I guess. But they say it was too clean and too neat. And hey, Nick, did I get the booger?
You froze in the middle of that scratch, Cecil.
That's awesome.
No, Crystal, I don't remember seeing anybody that was able to perfectly recreate them. I mean, they've gotten people that have gotten out there with like the logs and all this stuff, but they aren't getting the patterns that so many of them get, the perfect patterns.
I've seen people do pretty good with it, but it takes them forever.
Mm-hmm.
It takes them a pretty long time. They had a show on in the late 90s where they explained it away, and they did a time-lapse video of these two guys doing it in Europe, I think it was, England.
Hey, Landa.
And they recreated it pretty good, using the boards and the ropes and all that good stuff. But it took them a couple hours.
Mm-hmm.
And there's people that go out and see their field, and there's nothing wrong with it. Go inside, drink a cup of coffee, come out 30 minutes later, and there's intricate crop circle there.
Yeah.
It's really hard to explain it right there. I am too. Mm-hmm. Crop circles is pretty strange because people can do stuff like that. I mean, think about corn mazes and things like that people cut down with tractors and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing that's the most intriguing with the crop circles is you can still harvest from those. Like, it doesn't break the plants or anything like this. It's pretty, I don't know how, it's pretty smooth how it's done, I guess, is what I'm thinking.
Well, and another thing that I've noticed on the ones that are claiming that they are actual crop circles is there's generally no indication that anybody's come in and out to do it.
That's true.
So
I'm just saying.
So yes, that was one of my deep original rabbit holes when I first started getting into this kind of stuff, because I'm a huge, used to be, big into historical research, and I love Scotland. Scotland's just amazing. And that kind of led into, the crop circles, because at the time there were a lot of them happening over there, or in that area of the country, not necessarily in Scotland, but in Britain and places like that.
Hey, Landa.
Yes, Landa, they do look really cool. I mean, Crystal, they do look really cool. And the thing about it is, if somebody has taken the time and they can do it that well, then more power to them, because I'm impressed.
Absolutely. I hate to do this. Every time I try to get something new for audio to listen, like earbuds or whatever it may be, I have to go back to the overear. These are starting to piss me off pretty good, so
It's good. It's good.
Bear with me.
You got to have the Princess Leia look. I'm sure he did not hear that.
I'm back.
As I said, the Princess Leia look.
Yeah. It's killing me.
Oh yeah, I understand. Like I said, that it took me a minute to get used to these, but these are over the ear, but they're little over the ears.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to get some over the ear, and I think that's gonna be the ones
Yep.
that fill the deal.
It's funny that with these, my son gave them to me when a friend of his he's one of these guys that he makes more money than probably me, you, and two other people combined.
Yeah.
He still lives at home. He has no bills. He has no girlfriend and everything. So he can just blow money on whatever he wants. Well, when he upgraded from his $600 over the ears, he gave them to my son. And my son gave me the $100 ones he had. And like I said, I didn't use them for a long time. And then, like I said, the ones that I have for over the ear for podcasting just got to the point where they were killing me hot. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to try these, see if they work. And so far, so good. Sometimes they aggravate me because they do sit down inside the ears, but I think that's just a me thing.
I had some that I really loved, and they were pretty expensive.
Mm-hmm.
I took them to play music because at the time what we were doing audio link face thing, where this guy, I know that's a audio technician, he set up this rig in the middle of the floor, and we just all ran through headphones, kind of like a silent rave in a way,
right?
To where we could hear everybody. And he stumbled and broke my headphones, and I was like, it's no big deal, dude. Those were just my favorite ones,
Right? Exactly. Couldn't be the cheap knockoffs you had sitting over there somewhere.
I can't afford to buy anymore like that, but it's all good.
Yeah. The pain is real, friends. The pain is real.
I had to make payments on them, But
yep.
But you good to go on your stories?
I am. I did the Tully thing. We'll see what happens. So imagine living in a quiet farming town in Iowa in 1903. The biggest excitement you're usually going to have is probably the next train coming in. But then over the course of 5 nights, your entire town is convinced that something impossible is stalking the streets. So this happened in the town of Van Meter, Iowa, in late September of 1903. According to the newspaper accounts and the testimony of several respected townspeople, as opposed to the town drunk, these were higher up civilians, an enormous winged creature began appearing after dark. Witnesses described it as somewhere between 7 and 8 feet tall, with leathery bat-like wings and an odd horn protruding from its forehead. But the strangest feature wasn't the size or the wings, it was the light that seemed to shine out of that horn. Some people said it glowed like a lantern. Others claimed it projected a focus beam of light, almost like a modern spotlight, decades before that technology existed, or that we knew about that technology. The first reported encounter occurred when a local businessman, U.G. Griffith, heard strange noises outside his home late one evening. Investigating with a lantern, he claimed to see the bizarre creature perched on top of a nearby building. Startled, he fired his revolver several times, but the bullets appeared to have had no effect. The creature simply spread its wing and disappeared into the darkness. The following night brought more sightings. This time, another prominent resident, bank cashier C.L. Davidson, reportedly encountered the creature near his home. He described it in similar terms and also fired it without any apparent success. And then again, mysterious visitor just escaped unharmed. Then word started spreading through the community, and curiosity gave way to fear. Residents began arming themselves, keeping watch through the night, and gathering in groups rather than venturing out alone. So as the sightings continue, reports suggested there wasn't just one creature, there may have been several. And witnesses eventually traced the strange beings to the entrance of an abandoned coal mine on the outskirts of town. Convinced they had found the creature's lair, a large group of armed townspeople gathered and surrounded the mine. According to newspaper reports, the creatures briefly emerged before retreating back underground. So the townspeople then decided the best course of action was to seal off the entrance. That way it would trap whatever was in there. And then the sightings stopped. No bodies were ever found. No physical evidence was recovered. The mine itself has long since disappeared, leaving only the newspaper accounts, witness statements, and a mystery that has lingered for more than a century. Now, there have been plenty of attempts to explain what happened. Of course, skeptics say that they probably just saw large birds or maybe a great horned owl or a crane, and that it was just dark and they couldn't tell what it was. But then, then they say, oh, well, it was everybody was feeding on the rumor mill, and every time it got retold, it grew and grew and grew. But that was pretty, detailed for that time period for that many different people to have claimed to have seen it.
Yeah. I mean, that's pretty wild. I wonder what it would have been. There's so many things out there that we just don't know what they are. And it seems like it goes through segments where people see these crazy things, then they don't see things, then they see them again, just crazy stuff like that.
Yeah. And we've talked more than once about the cave systems in this country and other places around the world. I mean, who's to say they didn't come from somewhere underground, from some crazy other realm, or just, deep into the cave systems.
Exactly. I really want to. I wish I wasn't so scared of caves. Because I know where there's a bunch at, but it's just so tight and I'm so big. I don't want to. I don't want to get stuck.
Yeah. Well, that's and I get that. That's legit, because I remember when Mo and I went to Ruby Falls in Tennessee. There are places where you have to turn and shimmy, to get through, and I can imagine how that is in a lot of those underground cave systems. Let's
see. I'm going to show you. This ain't even a cave. This just terrifies me. It's a thing called Fat Man Squeeze. And it's going to Natural Bridge over in Red River Gorge. I would never, if I tried to go through this, I would get stuck. Look at this.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. There's no way. I couldn't get through that, Crystal. There's no way. And I would die of a panic attack. I would have a panic attack. Like,
oh, that's fair. That's fair. There's
no way. No way. No way. I'm glad you got through it. I couldn't. Like, I would get stuck in an instant. Then I'd have a panic attack, scare everybody there. They'd have to get a crane or something to drag me out. It'd be terrifying. But the cave systems in Kentucky is nuts.
Oh yeah.
There's caves everywhere right down the road from us. A lot that I didn't know were there, come to find out. And plus, we also have that short creek down there, but that's all tied into the Mammoth Cave system too. And the Mammoth Cave system is mammoth. It's huge. So, and there's plenty more cave systems like that around here where people just don't know where it is.
Oh yeah. And that's the, I mean, like I said, they've never been able to fully map that system. I mean, so who's to say, and like I said, we've we found other ecosystems around the world that are underground.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it just stands to reason that there could literally be civilizations. Like I said, I have a problem with flat Earth theory, but hollow Earth, no, I can totally get behind that.
I mean, think about the ones that did open up into these ecosystems and things like that. There's creatures down there that got stuck down there when the cave-ins happened and opened them up or whatever, or so be it.
Mm-hmm.
Who's to say that there's not prehistoric creatures that got down there and didn't get out?
Mm-hmm.
And they finally found a way out.
Right. Or like say, you have an earthquake and it opens up a fissure and something that's been underground for, millennia. It's like, ooh, what's this? Because I can only imagine, as curious as we are, that other, beings would be exactly the same.
Yeah.
So.
So
What else you got?
Imagine walking after a heavy snowfall to discover a single line of hoof prints stretch across rooftops, frozen rivers, walls, and fields. Oh my. As though something had walked across the entire country overnight. That's exactly what thousands of people claimed happened in southern England during the winter of 1855. And no one has ever solved this. Have you heard about this?
Mm-mm.
On February 8th, 1855, residents across Devon awoke to fresh snow covering the countryside. At first, everything appeared normal until people began noticing strange footprints. Each print resembled a small cloven hoof, similar to that of a donkey or a goat. What made them remarkable wasn't their appearance, it was where they went. The tracks traveled in an uninterrupted line that crossed frozen rivers, past rooftops, scaled high garden walls, entered enclosed courtyards without leaving entry or exit marks. Some even appeared to continue across haystacks and through narrow drain pipes. Reports suggest that the trail stretched as much as 100 miles. Farmers, clergymen, hunters, local officials, thousands seen this. The Victorian newspapers exploded with speculation. Some believe Satan himself had wandered the countryside during the night, giving birth to the legend known today as the Devil's Footprints. Others blame escaped kangaroos, however, that were traveling. Still
in Devon.
Oh yeah, in Devon. You get kangaroos they got everywhere over there.
I know, right?
Still others suggest badgers, rabbits, hopping rodents whose tracks have partially melted into like hoof-like shapes. Meteorologists even proposed that freezing rain following the thaws could have distorted ordinary animal tracks into something far stranger.
Oh my gosh.
The problem? No single explanation counts for every report. Many of the stories likely became exaggerated from once they spread village to village, but some sections may have been unrelated tracks mistakenly grouped together, they say. Yet modern researchers admit that whatever occurred that February morning inspired one of England's greatest unsolved mysteries, the Devil's Footprints. Dun, dun, dun. What's up? Curse 13D? Cursed. Oh, I get it now. I get it.
Okay, so Devil's Footprints. Yeah. All right. What stands out to me is the consistency. It's a little bit of a stretch thinking that something could go that many miles consistently. Because, okay, I have rabbits and they bounce, but they don't, they don't do straight in a line.
Yeah.
And the fact that it went over stuff, that to me, if we're going with it's a creature of some kind, means it's either winged or has a high hop.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't know necessarily that it's a devil, but
it could have been a kangaroo.
Yep. those ruse.
Conspiracies pop up sometimes. We talk about a little bit of everything.
Uh-huh.
And sometimes we hit the ditch and talk about nothing. Really.
That's right. we avoid politics and religion.
We try, yeah.
Yeah, we try really hard. Unless it's relevant to what we're talking about. Tonight is what we refer to as a free-for-all.
Free for all.
We will talk about, so far we've done the Tully alien incident in Australia. And now we're talking about the devil's footprints, and I forgot what I talked about. The Van Meter visitor in Van Meter, Iowa. So yeah, that tonight we're just kind of all over the place. Generally, we try to have a subject, but then we throw these, free for alls.
Yeah.
So, what do you think?
I think it was the devil. It's England. It's winter. It could have been Krampus, like Crystal said. I believe it was Krampus. It was around Christmas time. Maybe he was out scouting.
Yeah, that's
true.
It
was actually a little after Christmas. It was in February. Maybe he's going back home. I don't know.
Could have been, prospecting for next year.
Could have been.
Because a lot of times the kiddos are good up until Christmas, and then it's like a free for all, So, all right. So, and we've vaguely touched on this. I don't think we've ever gotten deep into it. But, imagine waking up tomorrow morning just to discover that everything you know about the calendar is wrong. And not by just a few days or even a few years, but by nearly 3 centuries.
Oh, yeah.
So, according to one of history's most bizarre fringe theories, the year isn't 2026 at all. It's somewhere between 1729 and nearly 300 years of history's just never happened.
Yeah.
So, this idea is called the phantom time hypothesis, and it was proposed in 1991 by German historian Herbert Illig. His claim is nothing short of astonishing. Okay. So he claims that the years 614 through 911 AD were fabricated and inserted into history through a massive conspiracy involving rulers, church leaders, and scribes. And if Illich were correct, entire dynasties, wars, and kingdoms, and even one of Europe's most famous rulers, Charlemagne, would be little more than a fictional character written into the historical record. So why would anyone invent almost 300 years of history? So according to Illig, it all centered around one man, the Holy Roman Emperor Otto III. So Otto ruled at the end of the 10th century and supposedly wanted to reign during the symbolic year 1000. So rather than wait for history to catch up, Illig argued that Otto, together with Pope Sylvester II and the Byzantine Emperor Constantine VIII or 7th, altered the calendar by adding nearly 300 years that had never actually occurred. And in this version of history, the calendar was manipulated so Otto could rule during what was believed to be the dawn of the new millennium. Mm-hmm. So, his evidence that he believed he had, he pointed to what he considered gaps in the archaeological record. So in some regions of Europe, he argued, there seemed to be surprisingly little evidence of the cultural development during those centuries. He also noted that certain styles of architecture appeared to leap forward unexpectedly, almost as though history had skipped over an era. He questioned the authenticity of many medieval documents, arguing that much of what we know about that period comes from copies made centuries later rather than original manuscripts. And then there was Charlemagne. Illig suggests that perhaps the legendary emperor never even existed, but that instead he was invented to fill the newly created centuries with an appropriately heroic figure.
Yeah.
So, to the believers of this theory, it's an elegant explanation for a number of historical oddities because, it, of course, most historians think it's complete nonsense, because they point out that the evidence against the theory is overwhelming. Medieval Europe wasn't isolated. Its history overlaps with the histories of the Byzantine Empire, the Islamic caliphates, China, Japan, and other civilizations that kept their own independent records. Astronomers can calculate the timing of eclipses recorded in medieval documents, and those calculations line up perfectly with the accepted calendar. Three-ring dating, ice cores, radiocarbon dating, and other scientific methods also support the conventional timeline. So in order to completely accept this, you would have to believe that not only Europe was in on it, but the rest of the world was in on it too.
Yeah. So
there are still a lot of people that believe this, and it was the Dark Ages. So a lot of stuff that you see happening in other times didn't seem to have happened there. It was the Dark Ages for a reason. Or, like you say, how well do we believe science and history? We've talked more than once about the fact that we've got resets and, timelines that just don't add up.
Yeah.
So
I'm right there with Cursed. I mean, it's not unfeasible that somebody could change the year. Think about it. If they came out tomorrow and it's like, actually, the Earth is slowed down in rotation, which it does, or sped up in rotation, which I think it more than likely is sped up. So it's not actually, June right now. It's actually August. Everybody would kind of switch over to August right away. And you got to think there's countries out there right now that don't go on the Georgian calendar
right.
at all, like North Korea. I think it's like let's see, I got Google here. It's the year 115 there. Thailand uses a solar calendar. It's the year 2569. Chinese has its own. Ethiopia, Iran, and Afghanistan.
And
Japan.
don't forget the Mayans.
Yeah. So all these places have their own calendars and make up their own year. Time is just kind of a thing that we made up to, I guess, organize. I don't know, but I think it falls right in line with the Tartarian stuff.
Well, personally, I think we should still be on the 13-month calendar on 28-day cycles. That's the one that's logical.
Yeah, it makes the most sense. 13 months, 28 days each.
Exactly.
It would explain why October, the 8th month.
Yes. Yes. You beat me to that. Yes, absolutely. And here's another thing, because, when historians and everything talk about this conspiracy theory, the theory's not really about time. It's about record manipulation. And goodness knows the government would never manipulate records.
Yeah.
They would never lie to us, because it's their job to make sure we're safe and that we have all the facts.
Is Kinder in? Kerr said one of their messages was deleted. I ain't even seen Kinder in.
No, I have not seen Kinder today either.
That's strange. We get stuff deleted all the time, Curse. Sorry about that.
Hey,
I'll speak the truth. What up, Alan? But yeah, I mean, the Phantom Time theory, it's one of the ones that I truly believe in, because it falls within, what Tully and I believe. I believe Tully's into it now, as the Tartarian Empire, because you think about all this ancient tech and things like this that we're seeing over time, and it's starting to come out. I love how they've just buried the fact that there's probably massive megalith structures under the pyramids. Like, there's these huge columns in a big room, and now there's nothing. They're like, oh, that was nothing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Like, we discovered that there was an ancient power source, and the top of it was the pyramids. We didn't figure that out.
Right. Well, and like I said, but here's the thing too. They're constantly telling us stuff that they denied forever. Oh yeah, that never happened. Then, well, okay, maybe it happened. And then, like I said, anytime the government makes an announcement, I immediately say, okay, well, that's bullshit, because the government's announcing it. So while I firmly believe in aliens, I do not believe in the government's interpretation of what aliens are.
Nah, I believe they're interplanetary. saw some other planes. Oh, I just got an alert from Amazon. The lowest prices in 365 days. Oh no, technology's killing me anymore. It's right, it's brain rot. But anyway, the phantom time theory, we have touched on it before, and there's also one out there where it thinks that we're 1,000 years ahead
Yeah.
of where we should be. So I think the 300 years makes more sense
Mhm.
because that would be a power play by somebody like some kind of emperor or pope. There was a pope involved in this, Pope Sylvester II.
Yes. Yep.
They would get together and he'd be like, "Man, I really like the rule in the year of 1,000. That'd be dope."
Mhm.
Like, well, let's just change the year, man. It'd be no big deal.
And the thing is too, in that particular time period, most of the civilization as a general rule was illiterate. So if you came forward and said, "Oh yeah, it's this year," you just don't know because you can't read. Here's what it really says. People would believe that. They wouldn't question it because, like I said, especially back then, people honestly did not think, that the higher ups would lie to them.
Yeah. But
Okay, they were sadly mistaken, but still.
yeah, I mean, we've said it 1,000 times. The ones that win, the ones that are in power, the ones that write history. So
Yep, absolutely.
it is
And
what
Kirst, I actually have a copy of the Quran, the Bible, Enoch, all those too. So yeah, it's crazy how most people see the differences, but there's so many similarities. So
Yeah.
many.
Well, it's all folklore,
Mhm.
it
Yeah.
all comes from word of mouth. It all developed, spread across the lands, and developed into its own little thing. But it's all tied to the same stuff.
Mhm.
It,
Yep.
it just always is. And which is why I think in 1,000 years, Star Wars is going to be the primary religion. Like,
You know, there's always the flying spaghetti monster if you just want a unique one to get behind.
well, I mean, if you think about Star Wars, it's really heavily like it's very similar to Christian beliefs and things like that, and all other religions and things
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's almost like an allegory on
Mhm.
religion and yeah.
Yeah.
So cool.
Whenever I was speaking with that one guy that I talked to for like what was it, 6 or 7 hours,
Yes.
we ended on that theory that Star Wars is going to become the new religion. I don't think anybody has ever made it to that part.
Because and fun fact, I came on your show for the first time a few weeks after that, and to prep myself to get ready, I'm like, let me go listen to some of their podcasts. Dear God in heaven.
Ronnie just said something funny. Ronnie said, "Dudism." If you, right up there, Ronnie, is my dudism certification. I'm a dudism priest. If you believe my certification. But anyway, I would have got up and got it, but it said back there.
Yeah. But yeah, so like I said, so yes, I heard a lot. I heard about 6 hours of dude.
The
And I'm
theory.
like, oh my God. I really hope they don't expect me to talk that long. And here's the thing. Dude actually talked almost nonstop.
Yeah.
I mean, he did. And I'm not criticizing. I'm just pointing out the fact that dude could talk.
Funny, interesting fact. Tully and I both are certified, certified ministers.
Same.
And I seen that dudism thing, and I was like, "Well, I have to do this." Like we're ordained, like as ministers, we might as well be ordained as dudists. but anyway, let's move on.
And that's I'll tell you just quick before we move on. Yes, I'm ordained also.
Yeah, I think even too, ain't he?
Steven is too, yes.
Oh, yeah.
But here's the thing. The reason I originally did it, I worked in the bishop's office for the Methodist Church for a couple of years. And we had a youth minister at the time that was just the most arrogant, narcissistic little jackass under the sun. And I mean, he had a criticism for everybody. I mean, he was that person. And I overhear him telling a visitor to the office one day, well, this guy was talking about being a minister. And I told him, if you don't go to seminary and you don't do this, this, and this, you cannot legally be a minister in this country. So I went home that weekend to research it. When I came in Monday, I sat a certificate on his desk. He's like, what is this? I'm like, actually, you can get your minister's license in just a few minutes. And I'm now licensed to marry or bury you in 48 out of the 50 states. And his face was worth every bit of it. So now I have used it. I have married someone. I have not buried anybody yet, but you know.
It's so crazy that I don't look in that corner much. I'm getting ready to get sad. There's a whiteboard right there that says home soon, here heaven. That's the last thing my dad wrote on before he passed away.
Kirst, I really think the reason that I think that people have tried to reinvent Tesla's work. I think big business and the government prevent it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Whenever Tesla passed away, the FBI came in and confiscated everything.
Yes.
It's on telling what they have out there that was originated from his stuff. Like he dealt, I mean, it's Tesla. Everybody that's listening to this knows about Tesla at this point.
Mm-hmm.
I really want the earthquake machine because I want to see if I can make a bass amp out of it. Yeah, I've got all kinds of Golden Girls shirts. Crystal, Golden Girls is my jam, my peanut butter and jam. Mandy does not like the Golden Girls, so I can't watch it when she's up.
Really?
Yeah, it surprised me too.
Yeah, because it seems like something that would align very well with Mandy.
Oh yeah, for sure. She just don't like it. She don't like the Golden Girls.
Huh.
Yeah.
Okay.
But anyway.
What you got next?
The Solway Firth Spaceman. Are you familiar with this? Do you know what this is?
No, not that.
I did have a picture pulled up, but I'm gonna have to pull it back up because I got messing around and removed it.
Quit. What the fuck's wrong with you?
I'm just pulling this picture up.
Oh no, I'm sorry. My dog's being a jackass. Come here. You want to say, hey, Cecil?
Hey, puppy.
You see Cecil?
Hey, puppy. But this is the thing right here. This is the picture. I know this one's pretty popular.
Mm-hmm.
This is the Solway Firth Spaceman. Now, if by some chance you don't know what this is, let's go into a little bit of the story here. So most UFO photographs are blurry, poorly lit, easily dismissed. This one, however, isn't. In 1964, an ordinary family photograph taken in northern England accidentally captured a figure that no one remembers seeing. A figure wearing what appeared to be a white spacesuit. Jim Templeton was photographing his young daughter during a family outing near Solway Firth. He snapped several pictures. Nothing unusual happened. No strangers approached. No one walked behind his daughter. Nothing like that. When the film returned from processing, one image stood out immediately. Behind the little girl stood what looked to be a tall figure dressed entirely in white. Its back faced the camera. The head appeared covered by a helmet-like shape, and Templeton insisted no one had been standing there. Kodak reportedly examined the negatives after rumors spread that the image had been faked. According to Templeton, they found no evidence of manipulation, and I actually have there was a show on this where they also examined the stuff, and it was like, yeah, this ain't fake. So not only did Templeton say it, but it's been done since then. Now the mystery deepened when newspapers around the world published the photograph, and speculation just blew up, went everywhere. Speculation there, speculation there. Had the camera somehow captured something invisible to the naked eye, do you believe? It's hard to say. Was it proof of extraterrestrial visitors? I don't think so. I'll get to that momentarily. An optical illusion? Not that I could see. But years later, photo analysts suggested a more weird explanation. That seems a little too easy. The figure might actually be his wife, standing farther away than people realized. Maybe. I don't think so.
Dressed like that.
Yeah, wearing a helmet.
Hmm.
But the thing is, like, anytime that there's some kind of photographs or anything like this that people find or get, there's always going to be counters. It's like, and photos of ghosts are like, oh, that's double exposure. You know, what's a double exposure of? A demon? You know, like,
Right.
So what do you believe that one is? Because this is a pretty old one and pretty popular one.
Well, I mean, like I said, I don't think it was his wife because, like I said, I cannot tell you of one instance that I was out with my helmet on while we were taking pictures. Now, I'm old enough to remember pre-digital cameras. And here's the thing. I cannot tell you how many times I dropped off film, and when I picked it back up, I'm like, what is that? I mean, and nothing like that per se, but I mean, just things that nobody recalled seeing and that just didn't make sense as to how they got into the picture. And that was also back pre-Photoshop. So I know that that's not what, the problem was.
Yeah.
So like I said, yes, I think a lot of people in the pre-digital age probably got stuff that they couldn't explain because there was no explanation. I think this is one of those cases.
Yeah. Oh, that's pretty interesting. Kirsch said USA is always talking about aliens. Here they don't like Europe. Here they don't like Europe, Africa. There is a cause geographically you're closer to forbidden lands, and secondarily you have a lot of shaped devils. I believe I get what you're saying. I mean, America, the Americas, North, Central, South, I believe are some kind of weird lands, especially in the area where we are. Like, you hear tales of like when people first came over here of like witches and things of this nature living in the woods. And it even travels now because of where I live in Appalachia, and there's all kinds of theories like if you hear somebody say your name, you don't answer back, which I live by.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard,
hell yeah.
I've heard it before in the middle of the woods with nobody around I knew about. So yeah, I could get with that. Yeah. There's other terrains, but yep, that was the Solway Firth spaceman, and then it's been used as a pretty good thing of evidence amongst the UFO conspiracy. But in my honest opinion, if it is real and if that was somebody there standing there, I think they were a time traveler of some kind.
But that's possible too.
Yeah.
I mean, because that is assuming that space people had space suits, or that had them as to be something that we would look at and say that's a space suit. But I could see easily somebody that was time traveling using some kind of biohazard suit because you don't know what you're going to land into.
No.
And
I mean, if people from the future came back now, do you think they would have already evolved to their climate and like their air quality and stuff in the future?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's going to be way different. It's way different now than it was when I was a kid. Everything felt better, everything felt better, and now it's just kind of heavy.
I am not familiar with Iwaranon, but I have written it down so I can research him some.
Yeah, we'll take a look.
Yeah.
See
I mean,
what's-
because just at a glance, I mean, he's got some interesting stuff, so I'll definitely look into it. So here, okay, so imagine that you're living in a small Chinese village where everybody knows there's a pond that doesn't have a bottom. It's a bottomless pond. Generation after generation, people tell the same story. Livestock have disappeared into it. Fishing lines never seem to reach the bottom. The water's dark, still, and mysterious. It's simply accepted that the pond is just deep. Then one day in 1992, a local woman decided she had enough of the legend. Her name was Wu Anai, and instead of accepting the story, she hired a pump. For 17 straight days, workers pumped water from this pond.
Nice.
And what emerged was not the bottom of a lake, it was a staircase.
Wow.
So the stairs descended into an enormous man-made chamber carved directly into solid sandstone. It was not formed by nature. Every surface bore unmistakable signs of human workmanship. The walls were covered in thousands upon thousands of parallel chisel marks, all running in remarkably consistent patterns, as though an army of workers had just carved the stone, according to a carefully planned design. I mean, it looks like a pattern.
Yeah.
So as more ponds were drained, the discovery became even more astonishing because it wasn't just one underground chamber, there were 24. So collectively, they became known as the Longyu Caves, and they're located in China's Zhejiang province. Each chamber is huge. Many are more than 100 feet deep and cover thousands of square feet. They have massive stone pillars that were deliberately left in place to support the ceilings. Staircases, platforms, bridges, alcoves, and precisely angled walls suggest sophisticated engineering and careful planning. And despite their enormous size, they are surprisingly symmetrical, with many sharing nearly identical layouts and architectural features. So researchers estimate that creating the caves required moving close to 1 million cubic meters of rock. So let's put that in perspective. That's over 1 million tons of sandstone excavated by hand, if we're going by the age of them. So that's where it really starts to get interesting, though, because China has a really rich historical tradition, one of the richest in the world. Dynasties were documented. They documented wars, famines, taxes, engineering projects, canals, road, palaces, tombs. Massive construction efforts involving far fewer workers are described in great detail, yet no known historical record mentions the constructions of the Longview Caves. Not one.
That's so crazy because you said 100 million cubic yards. Is that right?
Yes.
That's close to what was moved when the Denver airport was made. The Denver airport was 110.
Mm-hmm.
That's insane. That's a lot.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Kinder said, "What's up, Kinder?" Kinder said they found their dungeon there.
See, and that's what's crazy, because there were not any inscriptions. Like I said, no documents. There were no tools left behind. There have been no human remains found. There are not any murals explaining what it's supposed to be. There are no emperors, because, in Chinese architecture back then, they would make all of these effigies of these leaders. And, look at the clay tomb, I mean, they do a lot of that, or they did, and this ended up being one of the largest excavation projects in the ancient world. I mean, but it just never happened. So it's been really difficult for them to date the caves because they're carved into solid rock rather than built from materials that could be carbon dated. But based on pottery fragments and surrounding archaeological evidence, many researchers believe they may have been created about 2,000 years ago. But why? I mean, why? Because if it were a quarry, it wouldn't be these perfectly symmetrical rooms. I mean, quarries are just dug out. I mean, there wouldn't be any patterning on the walls and stuff. Some say that maybe it was an underground palace or a military installation or something, but okay, yeah, maybe nothing explains everything.
Yeah, I agree. I wonder how many of these underground cities was just people who got bored.
Maybe so. And how many more are there that we haven't found?
Me and one of my cousins, when we were kids, we didn't have the internet or anything like that. So one summer, we dug a hole into the side of a hill, and it turned into a pretty big room. And then everybody found out what we was doing. It took them all summer to figure it out because nobody paid attention to kids back then.
Right?
And it's like, get out of there. You're going to fall in on you. You're going to die. So we had
Say, no, we weren't. But now you've cursed us. So.
I hate to do this to you, but do you have another one you can read real quick? Because I need to visit the Tinkle Fairy.
Yes, give me just a second. I was actually pulling up my next one. So I'm going to talk about the Chase Vault in Barbados while you're gone.
I'm going to turn you up real loud and hopefully I can hear you.
Okay, sounds good. So, this one is really cool because it's one of those stories where the facts are historical, but the legends have just grown. And that's, makes it really cool. So picture yourself standing in a quiet cemetery on the island of Barbados. It's in the early 1800s. The air is still, the sun's beating down, and there's this small stone mausoleum built into the hillside. It doesn't look remarkable. It's just another family vault that looks like so many vaults that are there. But according to one of the Caribbean's most enduring mysteries, no one could keep the dead inside this vault. So the story begins with a burial vault in Christchurch Parish, known today as the Chase Vault. It was constructed in the early 1700s. It was built of thick coral limestone and sealed with a massive slab of blue marble that reportedly took several men to move. It wasn't a structure that somebody was just going to quietly open up in the middle of the night. So the first burial was not even a member of the Chase family. In 1807, a woman named Thomasina Goddard was interred there. A year later, another coffin was placed inside without incident. Everything changed in 1812. That year, Colonel Thomas Chase's young daughter, Mary Ann, died at just 2 years old. Her tiny lead coffin was carried into the vault and placed alongside the others. A few weeks later, tragedy strikes again. His older daughter, Dorcas, also died. Some accounts say that she took her own life after suffering severe depression. Others dispute that claim. Regardless of the case, when mourners opened the vault for her burial, they reportedly found something really unsettling. The coffins were no longer where they'd been left. Heavy lead caskets had been tossed about the chamber, some leaning against the walls, others overturned as though they had been thrown by tremendous force. So mourners assumed someone had entered the vault. They rearranged the coffins, resealed the marble interest, and didn't think a lot more about it. A few weeks later, Colonel Chase himself died. And when the vault was opened again, the coffins had moved again. This time, the large lead coffin of Colonel Chase himself reportedly had to be forced into the chamber because the other coffins were scattered in every direction. So word spreads across Barbados. Each new funeral became an event. Crowds gathered just so they could see whether the coffins had moved again. And according to the story, they always had. One report claimed that the small coffin of Mary Ann had been hurled across the room. Another described Colonel Chase's massive lead casket standing upright against a wall. Some accounts even claim one coffin appeared wedged upside down into a corner. And then, of course, there were other explanations that were proposed, like grave robbers were searching for valuables, but nothing was ever stolen. Vandals, but why move the coffins and not take anything? Earthquakes. Except none of the neighboring vaults showed similar disturbances. It was just this one. Someone even said flooding. And lead coffins can float if enough water enters the vault, but they never found standing water inside. And if it happened once and then 2 weeks later happened again, and then a few weeks later happened again, there would be some kind of, report of water. But it does not explain, floating doesn't explain the coffins balanced vertically or jammed into corners. So eventually the mystery attracted the attention of the island's governor. And according to legend, he decided he was going to settle it. So when another burial was scheduled in 1819, the governor attended with several officials. They carefully inspected the vault again. The coffins had moved again. And this time, determined to rule out tampering, the officials replaced every coffin in its proper position. They spread fine sand across the floor so that any intruder would leave footprints. And then the massive marble slab was put back in place, and fresh mortar sealed the entrance. If anyone entered, there would be evidence. Months later, the vault was opened again. The seal remained intact. The sand showed no footprints, but the coffins had been moved again. So, according to the traditional story, that was enough. The governor ordered every coffin removed permanently, and the Chase Vault has remained empty ever since. So, what the hell?
The fact that the sand hadn't moved, and yeah, I mean, water can sometimes drag something, I guess, but I don't know. That's really
water.
strange.
For me, would lift them up and lift them down because they were lead.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't wood. Wood, okay, it could do that number and maybe, you know, swoosh, but lead?
Yeah. It's kind of like them rocks in the desert, you know, they kind of just move across the sand. They've blamed that on water droplets. Water droplets. I don't know. That's really strange. That is a unique one. But even the ones in the desert, when they move across with the water droplets, they have a trail behind them like they're being drugged.
Uh-huh.
That's weird. That's weird.
Yep.
It's a very strange one.
But it's really a cool one too.
I
Do you
like
know we have a coffin in a cemetery down here? I think it's in Natchez. That it was a little girl's coffin, and she was about 8 years old when she died. And they actually had the vault made so that the front was glass, and the mother could go down the stairs and sit and see her daughter behind the glass.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah.
I don't think I would want to do that.
No, I would not either.
Yeah.
You know, and people grieve differently.
Yeah, that's true.
But that no, that's not for me.
One of the strangest things I've ever seen in my real life was when I was a little kid, and I think it was in Florida. It could have been in Georgia. We traveled a lot. Like just driving around because Dad was a repo man, so he's always looking for a car. And we drove past a place where it had flooded, and they had buried their dead underground, of course. But the ground, you know, in Florida is a lot of sand, and where it had flooded, coffins had popped out of the ground, like partially. And like I remember that so like it's yesterday. Is terrifying. Like seeing that, and my dad was stoked. He's like, "Look at that right there! Ain't that crazy? Look at that! Let's go over and look at that." I was like, "No," I was like a little bitty kid. It's weird, but interesting. When we went to New Orleans and went to the graveyard and on the little tour, they told us that's why they bury everybody above ground there. I was like, "Oh, now that makes sense."
Yeah. They in Louisiana, South Louisiana, when y'all went to New Orleans, I don't know if you noticed, nobody's buried. Everyone is above ground because it's basically a fishbowl.
Yep. If you bury them on the ground, they'll just pop out.
Yeah. And the funny thing is, in the big cemetery from my own hometown, there are literally, when I was younger, 2 vaults because that was just weird. You know, putting people above ground, that was strange.
The thing, I'm getting ready to go dark with this, but this is so crazy. You can figure this out on the internet or go on one of these tours. We went to the one where they had Nicolas Cage's pyramid in it. And they were explaining to us the process of it and the fact that they didn't bury people underground because they pop out, things like that. But these, what are they called? They're not mausoleums, are they? Are they mausoleums?
Yeah, that's what I call them. Tomb or tombs.
They're like an oven. And what they do is they put you in this and you cook for like a year, I think they said. And then when it's time for somebody else to go in, they just take this thing and scoop you off into the bottom. And when I heard that, I was like, huh, that's, for some reason to me, that's terrifying.
Well, you know, it's really funny because when my friend's sister passed away, and the whole family's, very strict Catholic and everything. So cremation is not something that they really did a lot of, but they decided, because of some circumstances and stuff, to cremate. And she goes, "Do you know the strangest thing?" And I'm like, "What's that?" When I was having to fill out the papers and sign them for her cremation, I had to sign and acknowledge that I realized that while all efforts were made to clean out the oven between burnings, that there was no way to get it all, so that there would be remains of other people. And I'm like, "Well, that makes sense completely and totally." She said, "Yeah, but now I can't think of her as anything but Robin and Friends."
Oh, that's
Okay, well, I get it.
I mean, in the grand scheme of things, ain't it better to be with somebody?
Exactly. Exactly. Burn me, dump me out in the trash. I don't care. I'm not going to need the body. So,
Yeah, at that point, my spirit's already gone. And
I'm going to tell you, Crystal, New Orleans is one of my favorite places, but I would not live there if you paid me.
I've been a couple times, and the first 2 times I don't remember much because I was live.
Uh-huh.
I remember like kind of the trip to it, and don't remember much after that. But this last time we went, I was lucid the whole time. Didn't even take a sip of alcohol. It's pretty fun, really. I had a good time. Food's delicious, by the way. So yeah,
Yes, yes,
if you ever
absolutely.
get a chance, I suggest going down there for at least a couple days, a day or two.
I'll be honest with you, Kirst. I don't care. I'm dead. I do not need this body. Take what you can and save somebody else and burn what's left. I mean, I'm that person. I don't want to be on display.
No.
Just go ahead, cremate me. Like I said, if you can use my organs, use them. Again, I don't need them. So.
Yeah. Well, it won't be up to me what happens. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
That's somebody else's problem.
Actually, in theory, you could pre-plan and it would be up to you.
I like to live on the edge. We'll see what happens.
So here's one that it's really, what's cool about it is this isn't paranormal. It's actually documented. It's just weird, which, here we go. So it was May 26th, 1828. A teenage boy wandered into the streets of Nuremberg, Germany. He appeared to be around 16 years old, but almost everything else about him was a mystery. He could barely walk. He scarcely spoke. He carried 2 letters. The boy repeatedly uttered one phrase: "I want to be a cavalryman just like my father." The townspeople tried asking him who he was, where he'd come from, and what had happened to him. He couldn't answer. The only name anyone could get out of him was one he eventually managed to write: Caspar Hauser. And at first, people assumed he was intellectually disabled, but the doctors who examined him did not think that he was. His extremely sensitive, loud noises terrified him. He claimed that meat made him physically ill, preferring only bread and water. He seemed fascinated by simple things that everybody else took for granted, as though he had never encountered the ordinary world before. So then came the story that ended up making him famous across Europe. So once he learned enough German to communicate, he claimed he had spent his entire life imprisoned in a tiny dark cell. According to his account, he had never seen another human face. And then an unknown man would leave him bread and water while he slept. And then occasionally a stranger would trim his hair and nails without ever revealing his identity. So shortly before appearing in Nuremberg, Caspar claimed, had the mysterious man taught him to stand, walk a few steps, write his name, and repeat a handful of memorized phrases before he just dumped him off in the city.
Nice.
So, and if this is true, that's really horrifying. The thought that somebody had endured that. And the doctors that examined him, they found that his legs appeared to be unusually underdeveloped. consistent with someone who had spent little time walking. His social behavior was bizarre. He possessed almost childlike reactions to ordinary experiences. And then, of course, people became fascinated with it. Kings, philosophers, scientists, and writers all debated who he really was. And then rumors started. So one theory says he wasn't abandoned at all. He was royalty. And some people believed that he was the legitimate hereditary prince of the Grand Duchy of Baden. According to this theory, the real prince had been secretly kidnapped as an infant so another branch of the family could inherit the throne. And rather than murder the child outright, conspirators supposedly imprisoned him for years before quietly abandoning him when it became too dangerous to keep him hidden. You know, it sounds almost like something from a historical thriller. So, but that, you know, rumors just kept spreading, and there was really just enough circumstantial evidence to kind of keep it going. That his age roughly matched that of the supposedly deceased prince. The timing was kind of suspicious. You know, it was an era of political intrigue surrounding several royal families in that area. And then suddenly this young man just shows up and then becomes more than a curiosity. And he could have been the rightful heir to the throne, but then attacks began. And then in 1829, somebody entered his room and struck him on the head with a heavy object before fleeing. He survived. A few years after that, another incident occurred in which Casper claimed someone had fired a pistol at him. Again, he survived. And supporters insisted that powerful enemies were trying to silence him. Some, of course, skeptics say that he staged the attacks himself for attention, but no one really could agree. And then in 1833, everything came to an end. He came staggering home from a public garden with a deep stab wound to the chest. Before dying several days later, he claimed he had gone to meet a stranger who promised information about his true identity, and the stranger stabbed him. Police searched the garden and discovered a small purse containing a cryptic note written backwards in mirror script. The message appeared to be the identity of a killer only as MLO, and claimed he came from the Bavarian border. Whether the note came from the assassin or for Casper himself still remains disputed. But why was he murdered if he didn't matter?
That's true. That's a wild one.
Mm-hmm.
That's a wild one for sure. Oh, I wonder what we need to explore that one more, I think.
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing. Like I said, I'll hold off on it then, because it does go a little bit deeper.
Oh, wow. Does
yeah.
it? Let's do it.
Okay. So DNA testing.
Yeah.
So several attempts have been made to compare genetic material believed to belong to him with descendants of the Baden royal family, and some of the early tests hinted at possible connections.
Oh.
So, you know, and they've had more modern ones that have, we don't know for sure. But of course, you know, there are limited samples, and he occupies a crazy place in history. Because like I said, there's so much left wide open.
I mean, things back then were wild, you know. But it could have definitely been some kind of royalty that was passed off to somebody else, but like, get rid of this boy. You know
Absolutely.
I mean?
Absolutely. Because, you know, people will do a lot for a little bit of power.
Oh, yeah. But I'd like to address cursed question here. Let's see. On the side note, so I understand how to address my questions. Do you believe in reincarnation and Judgment Day? When it comes to what happens after life, I'm to the point where I'm that person that says, well, I like all styles of music. You know what I mean? Like, there's so much evidence of reincarnation across the world, and even Morgana has memories of a past life.
Mm-hmm.
So many people remember past lives. Kids remember details they shouldn't know. There's been kids that called out who murdered them in their past life. You know what I mean? That nobody else would have known. And there's also, you know, I believe it's all energy and consciousness of some sort. And I do believe that we move on to something else or into a different body. It could be a choose your own adventure type situation. A lot of people believe if you go into the light, at the end of your death, that's when you would go into a reincarnation. And
Mhm.
some people believe that you get to pick who you get reincarnated into on the style in which your parents are creating you at the time, if you
Mhm.
get what I'm saying. And there's some people that believe if you don't go into light, you move on into what might be conceived as heaven, or depending on your mindset, hell.
Mhm.
Um, so it's that old thing of which one's right. We'll never know until it happens,
Mhm.
unfortunately.
Right. And I firmly believe that they are all interconnected. I think that there is a universal consciousness that has accommodated all of us. Okay.
Mhm.
There was this person that said, hey, I believe that that bird over there is, heavenly. So, that consciousness created that for them. I believe that what you believe in your heart of hearts is what's going to happen to you. I believe that if you believe in heaven and hell and you don't think you're worthy, then you're going to be in a hell in your afterlife. And it's going to be the hell that you've made, because I feel that the universe has made that to accommodate people. And like I said, I do firmly believe in reincarnation. I have, memories of reincarnated lives. So, I don't think that, I mean,
There's also the thought, and that the argument between burial and cremation is a big thing too.
mhm,
A lot of people don't want to burn at the end of their life.
mhm.
At the end of their life, a lot of people don't want to be construed to a box. Uh,
My mother is horrified of the dark. To this day, she sleeps with a nightlight and has told us in no uncertain terms, if you put me in a box under the ground and I don't have a nightlight, I will come back and haunt you.
yeah,
And I
and
say that jokingly, but she's dead serious.
and I kind of see the beauty in both.
Hmm.
Um, because cremation, you dissipate, you kind of your essence kind of drifts into the sky and becomes part of everything around you.
Hmm.
And it could even go out into the cosmos if you believe in space and things like that. And
Hmm.
then you also have burial, where you're put into the ground, and the old-fashioned way, which we kind of went away from. You contributed to life of plants, maybe a tree, and it's the full circle. Um, Really, I think there's beauty in both, but I believe that you're going into curse. I believe you're going into a the judgment day and things of this nature, where everybody everybody is asleep essentially until it becomes judgment day. Then you bust free from your box and float to heaven. I really think it's more of a consciousness thing. I really
Hmm.
do. At the end of the day, and when it's a consciousness thing, does it really matter what happens to the body? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, okay. Are you familiar with Eckhart Tolle?
No.
He's a modern philosopher, more or less. But he has one thing. It's actually on my wall in the other room, and it says, "You are the universe expressing itself as a human for a little while." And that to me kind of encompasses it. You know, I think that we all came from the universe, and I think we'll all go back to the universe. And, you may decide that you're not ready to end it after one life and that you have the option. I don't think you're required to come back, but I think that that is an option should you choose it.
Yeah. Let's see. And as long as we believe in getting alive again after death with our bodies and soul, exactly. All humans getting aligned with other type of creatures to Judgment Day. We'll be asked about all our doings in this life. I mean, yeah, that's essentially what's happening in Christianity. That's the thing. There's so many ties into everything.
Hmm.
Um, when you face Judgment Day, you go up there and you atone for what you've done in life. I foresee if that's the accurate case, I'm going to be very embarrassed a lot. I'm not stoked about a lot of things I've done in this short time that I have on this miraculous, um, random planet, as scientists say. But yeah, it's something that I think well, I mean, everybody thinks about it, a lot.
Mm-hmm.
It's inevitable. It's inevitable.
Yes. And we are a very diverse group here also, Kirst, because, we've got Stephen, who's normally with us, that is a Sunday school teacher and an avid Christian. I mean, he, for me, is one of those people that if I have any questions about that, that's who I'm going to talk to, because
he's what I see as a true Christian. He's a
yes,
good human being.
Absolutely. And then you've got me, I'm pagan, and like I said, but I'm also that person that I believe in the validity of everyone's religion. I feel that yours is just as valid as our Stephen's is, or as mine or anybody else's, because it's what you have in your heart. So I think that this world is big enough to encompass that. I don't think we should all have to be alike. I don't think we have to all be alike.
No, I don't think so either. I think that's the thing that's where the issue is that we are in now. There's been so many things that's been created, like it's the I'm right, you're wrong mentality of the world.
Yes.
Which isn't the case. If everybody has their own thing, everybody believes their own thing, and that's perfectly fine.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest thing is how you treat each other, and I mean, that's really all it is. I don't know what Tully is. He's my best friend, and the topic of religion doesn't come up. Like, I don't think I've ever been like, "What do you believe, bro?"
Tully is more spiritual than religious. I don't think he adheres to any specific religion at all, but I think he is a very spiritual being.
Yeah, and me, I mean, I've went through so many different battles within the religion. The first 12, 13 years of my life, I was going to be a preacher. That's what I was going to be. Studied Bible front to back. Then, life happened. Completely lost faith. Didn't believe in anything. And, the older I'm getting, the more I'm starting to circle back around, because even if there's not anything at the end, faith of something gives you just a little bit of humanity. And if you truly believe in it and you truly respect each other, I don't know, it seems like the world could be a lot better place if people just did that.
Yeah.
And you're going to find bad people in any type of religion. Christianity is the one that we deal with the most in this area, where it's hypocritical to a point where you don't want to go inside the doors. And that's horrible. It's really bad that you have to face that type of hypocrisy. And I've got family members that are big in the church, and they don't live the life that I think that a true Christian should. Because if you're not wealthy or you drive a beat up car, then you're a piece of trash, which is not the case. It's insane.
Well, Jesus was a carpenter. He was not a king. I mean, so, and like I said, I again am not speaking as an expert. I can only speak on my, what I grew up around and everything. But like I said, if you truly follow the teachings of most biblical texts, then we'd be a lot better to each other.
Oh yeah.
And I think that's been lost in so many faiths is, we're all different and we have to hate each other, instead of, what? Our leaders said that we should love each other.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
but with wearing the folk, you're amongst a group of weirdos either way it goes.
That is exactly right. And like I said, we touch on a little bit of everything. Because we do like the weird stuff.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Tully's going to absolutely hate we went so far into religion. Tully can
but we did not go into religion in the way that would bother him.
I don't think of it as a bad thing. Like, I don't think of it as a me versus you, you versus me. I think of it as you have what you believe, I have what I believe, and we can still be harmonious toward each other. We can
Mhm.
still we can be friends. Like,
Yep.
it don't matter. And even when it comes to conspiracies, I've had some pretty rough talks with people where they did not believe anything I was talking about, and I full heartedly believed it.
That's
But
right.
but
Well, and that's the thing too. Like I said, we all like weird stuff, and most of the people that listen to us do also, but we can still disagree.
oh yeah,
What do I say all the time? I can't get behind flat earth, you know,
no.
but that's me. I'm not going to criticize you for it.
And I'm so scatterbrained that I've looked so much into all of this, and I can't discredit everything that I've came to the realization. Maybe it is flat, maybe it is hollow, maybe it is a matrix, maybe it's all three,
Mm-hmm.
maybe it is a sphere, maybe it's all about what you see when you reach the top of the sky. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I personally believe that it's probably flat. I mean, most of history it was flat, and you know.
I think I'm telling you, I think a cat would have knocked something off the side, and we'd all know for sure.
Well, I
So,
believe right past that ice wall, there's a bunch more flatness.
well, now you've got the unequivocal map.
I
So,
do. I do. Thank you. I got to hang in the living room so everybody knows my point of view.
see, that's how much I love you. While I don't personally believe it, I can still feed your beliefs.
Yeah. And what my favorite thing about my house, my wife's a hoot. If you don't follow her on TikTok, follow her, Appalachian Fat Lady. But she's funny, and she's got a unique mind to her. There's a boy, one of my colleagues' boys come over and help work on my water out here. And when he went back home, he told her, he's like, it's kind of like walking into a Stephen King movie.
I love that.
Because when you come in our house, it looks like a bunch of old people live in it. But you remember the old home interior stuff?
Mm-hmm.
Just replace all those old home interior like trinkets and like signs and things like that with horror movie stuff and little skulls and
Uh-huh.
horror action figures and stuff like that. That's our house. It's really strange.
I would say that Steven's probably the closest thing to having a normal house, but I've seen the room he podcasts in, and that would not be a true statement.
Yeah, he's a big
Yeah. I mean,
I always I always went to Bigfoot with a little bit of skepticism until I started this podcast
mhm.
years ago, and then met Steven, and he sent me pictures. I'm like, well, this guy is sending these, and he full heartedly believes it, and these pictures are pretty legit. Huh.
And then he brings people that have even more.
Yeah.
And I'm like you. I was pretty skeptical about Bigfoot. Even, like I said, it was one of my earlier rabbit holes and everything. And I'm like, nah, somebody would have seen it and had definitive proof. But then you start meeting people who kind of do, just because they don't, throw it out to the news people.
Robin
Yeah.
was fine.
Yes.
But yeah, I think this has been a good episode. Rocking and banging. And thank you, Kirst. We are here typically every Friday at 8 p.m. We used to do 7, and we might go back to it. But our Tully, he's in an endeavor that's eating up his summer and is screwing up our schedule. And I don't know what my future looks like with my new opportunity that's coming along, but I assume it's going to be similar to what I have now.
Mm-hmm.
So it might not disrupt much. But we do shows every Friday at 8:00. Come back, share your thoughts and your experiences with us.
We occasionally do a long form Saturday night show. We'll do a video watch reveal party. We'll watch stuff in real time together, and get everybody's reaction and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, and join the crew with Crystal, Landa, Wicked, Alan. Jenny wasn't here tonight. I wish
Ronnie was here. I don't know if he's still with us, but he was.
Jenny's awesome.
I think Jenny and Kirst
Oh yeah.
They would have a great time together.
But yeah,
Yeah.
so we don't have anything really going on right now. I don't anyway. Besides this, you're between the notes is on
Yep.
hold. Till Death Do We Watch is on hold. Cosmic Crumbs is on hold. We're just
And
getting straightened out, you know.
well, and Crystal, I'm actually I've got your Elizabeth Wettlaufer, and I want to save that for when Tully can be here with us too.
Yeah,
But it's on the list.
yeah, yeah.
Jenny is one of our regular listeners, Kirst, and listening to you tonight, some of the stuff you've posted, you and Jenny would probably have a great time because she's got that same mindset and everything. I think you'd like her.
Yeah, Jenny's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And so everything's on hold. As we get life straightened out, Tully gets his thing done. Morgan gets everything in Morgan's life resolves. Everything, if me and my wife can quit arguing about how the show should go for Till Death.
Just record the damn show and put it out there and let the people decide.
We have. I deleted it because I'm like, it's not good enough. If we're going to pre-record, it must be perfect. But anyway, thank you all for tuning in tonight, and we'll be back next Friday at 8 p.m. more than likely. If not, check out Twitter, Facebook. We'll give you an update. And thank you for watching us because we are watching you.